Chris Lado. Welcome to Lado Files. Hello, welcome to this live edition of Lado Files. Basically, yesterday we had an exclusive video break with David. It's called UFO Whistleblower. David Grusch Tells Me Everything. It was on Jesse Mitchell's channel, American Alchemy. So we'll basically be playing through excerpts of that and giving my reaction to it. It's a blockbuster interview. Let's get right to it. Let me share my screen here. It's late. Sorry, it was 11 o'clock here. I'll go ahead and share my entire screen. How's everyone doing? Thanks for being here tonight. Let's get to the comments. It is live. You'll see me in Portugal, Ira Klein. Great to see you. Thanks for being here. Hello, Ali. Salt Lake here. UFOs are organic. You'll like my video coming out on Friday. All right, excellent. UK is here as well. All right, thanks everyone for being here. All the live viewers, please like and share this. Okay, so this is the actual video. I'll turn the sound down. If you recognize it here, Jesse Mitchell's already has 915,000 views just one day ago. So that's definitely, you know, those are big numbers. That's mainstream numbers. Very excited to see it. Obviously, I wish I got the scoop, right, from David Grusch. All right. This is I like this part at the beginning. We'll just go through a few kind of sections that I wrote down I thought were important. Let's listen to this.
Just kind of looking at, anomalous phenomena and trying to classify it in the air, but you were being sort of systematically lied to about an internal reverse engineering program within the government.
Yeah, I mean, certainly going into it, I thought it was going to be, air trash, some prosaic natural phenomenon. I remember starting interviewing some military members that saw some really profound stuff, like, large, triangular crafts, football field size that they, hovered over them. And I was like, whoa, and these people were very serious, very upset to actually divulge that, a personal thing. It's nothing classified. It was a personal observation they had on a drive to work. Yeah. And then, one thing led to another. I had, certain colleagues of mine that I've known for years approach me, close the door in my office and was like, look, you need to know about some other stuff you guys are not, getting access to, and, kind of led down this.
Why do you think they talked? Why do you think they spoke to you?
Yeah, I think a lot of these guys were, they've kept the secret for so many years. They knew me. They knew what I was looking into. We reported to the Deputy Secretary of Defense in Congress at the time with the UAP task force. And I think they wanted some change. At least that's what they espoused to me. Is
why do you think they wanted change?
They felt that they were kind of limited in bringing people in, the support they were getting, their treatment was harsh sometimes. And I guess they weren't really feeling the love anymore.
What's the first moment where you saw irrefutable evidence that what you're dealing with is truth, is reality?
I mean, there were certain military cases, we were analyzing that I just really couldn't explain in a prosaic fashion.
What can you tell me about these craft? Why do you know it's exotic?
Based on the very specific properties that I was briefed on, isotopic ratios that would have to be engineered for it to be at those levels. And then, of course, read some, intel reports that were provided to me in that regard. And, I took that and I went to the agencies that, wrote those reports and asked for access. And when they deny you access, then, it's a thing. Yeah. So it's, and that's what happened to me time after time over a couple of years. So
Okay, so yeah, that was pretty huge for me right there when he talks about basically how he fell into it. He was just a reservist. He's basically a reservist. He thought it'd be cool to add this to his resume. His boss asked him. It was just a very common, seemed like prosaic question and answer. That was interesting, like how he got on the actual UAP task force. And then as he's going along his normal day-to-day job, he starts getting people contacting him and saying, hey, this is actually legitimate. So it just went through that again, kind of corroborating it for me in my brain. And if we look here, you can actually see the transcript If I show you again. So what's cool here is you can go up here to this little button, transcript here, and actually, so what I did is that I copied all of it and I put it into this little AI. I use Cloud AI. And if we zoom in here now, this is basically a total detailed summary of the 2-hour video. So we'll go through this here. I'll see, this maybe seems to work a little bit better. No. All right, here's a detailed summary of the video from Cloud AI. The video features an interview between Jesse Mitchells and David Grusch, a former intelligence officer who worked with the Pentagon's Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force investigating UFOs. In 2019, Grusch started uncovering a covert UFO reverse engineering program that was being hidden from the government and the public. In the program, crashed alien spacecraft were being recovered and attempts were made to rebuild them into functional vehicles humans could fly. Grusch filed complaints about this and provided documentation to the Inspector General in 2022. In June 2023, he went public in interviews and testified before Congress about these secret programs in July 2023. So that's what Cloud AI got from here, is that he provided documentation to the Inspector General in 2022, and then in June 23, obviously went public July 26th. I was there at the hearing. In the interview, Grusch provides insights into the UFO reverse engineering programs. He discusses evidence like materials with unnatural isotope ratios and intelligence reports. He was shown that convinced him the programs were real. It's basically what we just saw. That I don't remember much other mention of isotopes. He talks about the connection between the programs and the Manhattan Project and figures like Robert Oppenheimer and Edward Teller. Grusch explains why the programs have been kept secret for so long, citing Cold War concerns about giving adversaries an edge. He argues the secrecy has hurt innovation and thinks the time is right for more transparency. Grusch and Michaels, is that how you say? Sorry. Also discuss theories on the nature of UFOs, including time travel, other dimensions, and future human evolution. Overall, Grusch provides remarkable revelations about covert government UFO programs and arguments for why disclosure of this information is important for society and national security. This video gives insight into how his perspective shifted from skepticism to belief based on briefings from trusted sources. As you saw there, that was probably what changed his mind, is basically these people he knew, just seeing them, and up to 40, he said. I don't know if he knew all those people, but seeing these people that he knew throughout his normal career as an intel officer, and then having them come and show him all the documentation. And so I thought that was interesting for this actual video. And then the other big takeaway I got from it, what was mentioned here, if they even mentioned it, was the nuclear angle. So when he goes back to the Manhattan Project and figures like Robert Oppenheimer and Edward Teller. So let's see if we can find that real quickly. I did write it down, but I can write it here. He says Sarbach, right? Sarbacher. There we go. Section here.
Your plan for what it's worth, and they just were like, this is the way it's been and we're going to keep it that way, and we don't want Russia and China to be exposed to any of this info, and we don't want to give them an edge. And unfortunately, it's that kind of low energy thinking.
If you got to ask one question to ask someone who is not alive anymore that you feel could answer a lot for you, who would you pick and what would the question be?
I would probably ask Sarbacher, Oppenheimer, and be like, what was your thought process in the 40s and 50s, squirreling this away? I mean, besides overlaying the Manhattan Project secrecy.
Because Oppenheimer was the one who created the classification that included the UFO stuff?
Oh, all those guys. The guys that were involved in Manhattan were overlaying the same ecosystem of secrecy and some of the same ways to protect stuff that they were protecting our nuclear secrets. If you read the definition of special nuclear material in the Public Atomic Energy Act of 1954, it basically states any material that releases any kind of atomic energy.
That would be retrieved crash material.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a
Energy Act.
sneaky way.
No, it is. If you actually read the Atomic Energy Act, if something is not a nuke, but it has radiological energy coming off it, you know, alpha, beta decay, whatever.
Same secrecy.
Same secrecy.
So that was probably the biggest new information for me, is that they just went through that. And so I was looking, so I went down this rabbit hole basically today, looking, I haven't seen Oppenheimer, unfortunately, I haven't seen it, but obviously read about Oppenheimer. And then who is this guy, Robert Sarbacher, right? Okay, well, if you search for Sarbacher, what you find is an interesting letter here. If you guys can read this. UFOs in the government. So Robert Sarbacher confirms UFO crash rumors. And what it is this letter basically from Sarbacher to this guy, Steinsman. So a remarkable interview occurred in Washington, D.C. on September 15, 1950. But the content did not leak out until the early 1980s, when Canadian ufologist Arthur Bray found a memo by one of the participants, radio engineer Wilbur B. Smith of Canada's Department of Transport. The memo is described as a conversation with physicist Robert Sarbacher, a consultant with the U.S. Department of Defense and Development Board, at one of the regular meetings Sarbacher and other government scientists conducted with their Canadian counterparts. Okay, so this is from that letter. If we look at the letter here, it's pretty short and interesting. Okay, so this is where it's supposedly coming from. You can see this Sarbacher up here on top left, to Sarbacher there, 1983, and then answer from Dr. Sarbacher to William Steinman. Dear Mr. Steinman, I'm sorry I've taken so long in answering your letters. However, I've moved my office, blah, blah, blah. To answer your last question, in the letter of October 14, 1983, there's no particular reason I feel I shouldn't or couldn't answer any or all of your questions. I'm delighted to answer them. You listed some of your questions in your letter of September 12th, which is today, actually. I will attempt to answer them as you had listed them. Relating to my own experience. So number one, relating to my own experience regarding recovered flying saucers, I had no association with any of the people involved in the recovery and have no knowledge regarding the dates of the recoveries. If I had, I would send it to you. Number two, regarding verification that persons you list were involved, I can only say this. And he lists out these people. So John von Neumann was definitely involved, okay? Dr. Vannevar Bush was definitely involved, and I think Dr. Robert Oppenheimer also. My association with the Research and Development Board under Dr. Compton during the Eisenhower administration was rather limited, so that although I had been invited to participate in several discussions associated with the reported recoveries, I could not personally attend the meetings. I'm sure that they would have asked Dr. von Braun, and the others that you listed were probably asked and may or may not have attended. This is all I know for sure. And they said definitely von Braun was the main. So there's your main names, okay? And then you go through, this is basically this is all I could find about Sarbacher. It's definitely hard to read here. But basically, it just says he was a scientist, a Harvard graduate, dean of the Graduate School at Georgia Institute of Technology. That's basically all he did. Was he was, in charge of the school. But apparently he did a lot more. He was also a scientific consultant to the U.S. Marines and government agencies. This is the letter that talks down here below. Sarbacher. Vannevar Bush, all I could find on him, he's just a science administrator, Office of Scientific Research and Development after World War II. So that's this guy, Vannevar Bush. He was at MIT. He just seems like a really smart dude. He did, I believe he came up with, I can't remember. Carnegie. Okay. Yeah, Vannevar Bush just seemed like a normal tech entrepreneur from what I could tell. So it wasn't so interesting. Von Neumann was a lot more interested. So this guy, man, he's done tons of stuff. Hungarian American mathematician, physicist, computer scientist, engineer, and polymath. And if you just look here, these are all the things he made major contributions to these fields, right? Mathematics, it's insane. All these different types of mathematics, physics, quantum mechanics was his big thing. Nuclear physics, obviously, is involved in this. Economics, computing, self-replicating machines. I mean, he came up with the von Neumann replicating probes, right? If you've heard of that, that's this dude. And his name apparently was all over this, von Neumann, right? Obviously, he worked on the Manhattan Project. It's almost like once you get in on the Manhattan Project, this supposed level of secrecy is higher than that. So they just recruit from people that are already on this type of program. So von Neumann, man, very interesting guy. He's all over this. He had something to do with this. Werner von Braun. Okay. And this guy, man, I love this guy. I mean, you can just keep reading about von Braun. Okay. Werner von Braun was literally high up in the Nazi party. I mean, he literally developed the V2 rocket. I mean, he was the chief scientist building the V2 rocket. It was like we fought the Nazis. Von Braun's over there working on the V2 rocket that is, threatening to strike in the UK, and we basically bring him over, and then he's the lead of our rocket program, and he was a lead of ICBM development, all the development for the US. I mean, it's just amazing if you just read through. I mean, he was literally in the SS. Where can we go down? Career in Germany. He was in the SS. Hitler gave him, I don't know how many awards, involvement with the Nazi regime. I mean, he won some high awards literally from Hitler. This is von Braun. And so his name is all over this, okay, all over this program related to this. So von Braun, amazing. And then the other name on there was also mentioned, Eric Walker. I couldn't find much on Eric Walker. Sorry, this is the guy that he basically just Penn State. He gave a lot to Penn State, their meteorology department. I can't say that. All right, and I think that's everyone. That's what I covered, and that's that section for people. Okay, and then he mentioned there just the final kind of pre-beef thing I want to show here is this is the actual Atomic Energy Act of 1954. So if we go here, atomic energy, I mean, I can't even get to the title. I'm pretty sure this was it. Atomic energy. Okay. Well, do they put a title on this thing? Okay. Development and control of atomic energy. Okay. So if you search here, special nuclear material, like he mentioned right there, right? He said special nuclear material into this act, 1954. What you find is there's a lot of it, 272. There's a lot of special nuclear material in here. And he was saying this is how it's hidden. And I went through and read quite a lot of this. It's kind of it's another rabbit hole. But look here. Okay, so short title. This is just one example, 1964. I'll zoom in here. This one's worth reading. Okay, so it has all these numbers, right? Published this date, 1964. This act amended sections 2002, etc. of this title, repealed section 2072, and enacted provisions. This act, so basically this act may be cited as the Private Ownership of Special Nuclear Materials Act. So that's the Private Ownership of Special Nuclear Materials Act. And if you actually, this is the statement that Dwight Eisenhower made. This is the statement that he made. You can pause the video later. Welcome to all the live viewers. If you're watching later, go ahead and post in the comments. Please smash the like button and share this video, hit subscribe, and to get notifications. Again, thanks to all your live viewers for being here. Statement by the president upon signing the Atomic Energy Act of 1954. And this basic act, right, enacted by Congress back in 1954, the idea was for it to share nuclear technology with allies, is what he says here, right? As I sign this bill, I'm confident that it will advance both public and private development of atomic energy. So that was the main, at least that's what he says here in his address. But now if we go into here, so that's where you see it there. It's private ownership of special nuclear materials. So special nuclear materials, if we can find a definition here. Affects interstate commerce, must be regulated in the national interest. Hard to find. So this is what he was talking about. And this is that article, that act actually. And this is what it does. It's basically unaffected by private ownership of special nuclear materials. That seems like the main thrust, if you will, of this act is talking about that. And he mentioned that special nuclear material. So that's how it's hidden, is in special nuclear material. And it's levels above supposedly the UFO, or at least anecdotally, is a higher classification than nuclear weapons. So I guess this is where it's classified as nuclear weapons. And this is where it talks about a sufficient quantity of special nuclear material to produce an atomic weapon. So that's basically what it entails. All right, so that's basically my initial thoughts on what I want to spend my few hours today trying to track down information to share with you guys. And then we had questions now. I'll play this video in the back. And we can post up questions. All right. Again, welcome to everybody. I just had 2 patron questions. Go and answer those first. Has your work in the field of UAP, UFO research inspired you to review any of the work done previously by others into observations, artwork, and documentation made during pre-modern era? Mark Beams. All right. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, definitely. If you look at my last week's video, I went into 3 historic cases, and I think 3 historic cases. Why do I do like historic cases is that you can't answer it with new technology. You know, if you can remove solutions, then it just makes, you know, whatever's left is the best option. And it sounds like in today's world, they can just say, okay, it's an advanced drone. Right now, drones can accelerate from 0 to like 250 miles an hour very quickly. You can put lights on them. Or they can just say it's advanced CGI, because now you can use deep fake technology, etc. But if you go back 60, 70 years, right, you go back into the 50s, then that doesn't work. You can't say it was a drone now, and you can't say they used advanced CGI if you can get, you know, provenance on the actual video. The other thing I think it establishes is patterns, right? We're limited in hard evidence. We can't really get hard data. And so we're trying to get indirect data, but you can get indirect data, right? I mean, that's how we passively track things. You can passively track a lot of things in this world, and you're not actually going out there and poking it, but you are seeing what's around it. You know, think about DNA right now. You know, murderers of today are being caught because they didn't know about this additional signature that was being left around. They didn't realize it, and now all these people are sweating bullets. You know, mass murderers of the past that haven't been caught should be sweating bullets today, because now there's this additional signature that they didn't know about. So I think we're getting indirect data. So if the further you look back in time, then I think the more data you have, right? You can establish patterns over periods of time. So it's awesome when you talk to Jacques Vallée. All right, thanks, Mark. And then second patron question. Thanks for being patrons, guys. Chris, could you list, in your opinion, the top 2 possible positive outcomes of increased disclosure from the government regarding UAPs? Let me close this. Positive outcomes. I mean, surely the best positive outcome is going to be more trust and transparency in the government, I think. And then the second positive outcome will be any of the benefit. I mean, not being lied to over so many decades. I mean, it's hard enough figuring out what's going on in the universe without that, the main governments of the world actively suppressing information and actively misinforming the public because it benefits them tactically. Negative outcomes. I mean, you could see terrible negative outcomes. All right, and then as far as your possible negative outcomes. Okay, please go. All right, sorry about that. All right, and then your two possible negative outcomes. Well, I think what they fear the most is that you're going to have serious loss of trust in the government. I don't think they could lose any more, though. But that was John Greenwald's point, is that if you say this now, that this is happening, that, yeah, we've been lying about UFOs for 70 years now. What about all the other things that we supposedly not been lying about? What about all those things? That was his concern, John Greenwald, is that that's why they're not going to share it. And then I think the big elephant in the room is, why have we been kept in the dark? Everybody says if they're really here, if the aliens or them are really here, then why haven't they shown themselves? It should be blatantly obvious. And so one idea is that it's in their interest to actually keep it secret. So why would it be in their interest to actually keep this secret? Is maybe the public would not like the agreements that they've made, or would not like the arrangement how it is, so maybe we'll just find out the truth is worse than we considered. All right. A Pandora's box it is. But what are we going to do? Not disclose? This is a cool section here. All right. So over 700 people here. Thanks for being here. Let's take your questions and see if you already wrote them. Super chats are open. We do have members here. We're all in the fifth dimension. What do you guys think of the exclusive? Aliens won't escape death or taxes. It'll be funny if they don't do either. Like, they don't die. They don't pay taxes. Can't believe these fools are wasting an opportunity to give everyone on Earth Pokemon holographic technology. Yeah, they do talk about that, right? Didn't they talk about special technology in here? Check that out. Holographic. Yeah, there we go.
We sort of snap it into this kind of linear classical epistemology that we
experience.
That's
what I was trying to espouse upon when I mentioned the holographic principle. If you want to imagine a 3D object such as yourself casting a shadow onto a 2D surface, that's the holographic principle. So you can be projected, quasi-projected from higher dimensional space to lower dimensional. It's a scientific trope that you can actually cross. Originally, the holographic principle was created to explain how information is encoded on an event horizon in a black hole. But like, maybe that's what we're seeing higher dimensional stuff casting shadow into our space, just like how we cast a shadow on a two-dimensional surface, which is like the sidewalk, right? Well, if you were on flatland, you would have no idea that this like crazy 3D monster was, out there, but all you're seeing is the shadow, and it's called quasi-projection. And maybe some of the UAPs are not even, they're here, but they're not actually from out there.
I cannot show you a tesseract because I and you are trapped in 3 dimensions. But what I can show you is the shadow in 3 dimensions of a 4-dimensional hypercube or tesseract. This is it.
Like, if it exists outside of 4D, time, space, or whatever, say this is, you have a 2D universe and this is a 3D object. If it intersects, you're just going to see a sliver of it. So you'll just see a disc.
That would make sense, I think, in 2 ways. One is that a lot of people that seem to see crafts, and sometimes quote unquote go inside of them, the inside is bigger than the outside. So Jacques Vallée describes a woman in San Jose seeing this, flying saucer. She walks in, she's in a movie theater all of a sudden.
There was one case in good old San Jose. A woman had seen something over her house. It was a big disc. Then I say, well, when you went inside, you said, there was this being, and the being took you on a staircase. I say, where did the staircase go? Well, the staircase went up the side of this big round room. I say, how would you compare it to? It's like a movie house, like an amphitheater. I said, that's bigger than your house. Why is the inside bigger than the outside?
And so this is a constant sort of, again, if we're looking for patterns, and that's like a good way to kind of theorize, that would make sense if it's this shadow casting sort of thing.
And that almost sounds like a physical translation from lower to higher dimensional space. That seems to be what's going on there. And I don't know if we have a good framework on how to smoothly do something like that. I don't even know.
Yeah, I just searched for grays. I did not see it in the transcript. So I don't think he mentioned grays. That would be interesting. Interdimensional displacement craft. I'll play it there. I didn't remember that actually watching it through. I've only watched it through like 1.5 times basically.
On the alien bandwagon as of the last 2 days, by the way. He did, and then he goes, somebody should win PSYOP of the Year award or something. So I don't know what it's like. What do you think, man? What's your take?
He was just writing the first tweet of like, I'm not gonna say they're aliens, but like,
I'm not sure what's going on with him.
I think he's probably a little pissed because he's using chemical propulsion.
Yeah, exactly. Combustion-based like propulsion.
Yeah, come on, we need the Howard Hughes of our generation to get access to the good stuff.
Yeah, Musk. We'll see. I mean, from my understanding, he's just the mainstream, is what he says. You can't travel faster than light. If you really believe you can't travel faster than light, then your only option is von Neumann probes, which again would make sense. So I don't even know why you would say that. All right, welcome everybody to the live viewers. Thanks for being here. Amazing times, man. We knew it's like just any week you could have these bombs dropping. You could have David Grusch just coming out with this awesome interview, and then the quality of these videos are great. I watch all Jesse's videos. I mean, he hadn't made one for a few months, and I was wondering because he's a competitor. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little disappointed that David Grusch, was in the Air Force. I was in the Air Force, and I did not get the scoop. What do you think that Grusch suggested when he mentioned the biologics came with baggage? I don't know. There's 6 mentions. I'll play this while I look for it.
Do you have any sense of why that was denied?
I don't know. No, I don't really have insight. It was something they mentioned to me, it was security or something denied it.
If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
One sort of bombshell soundbite from the hearing is Congresswoman Nancy Mace asked you about biologics. Ross Coulthart in the News Nation interview asked you about pilots coming out of these crafts. Do you want to just speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it is a mind-blowing side of it, right? It's a little easy to imagine, an artifact or whatever, but when you start talking about, the biological side of it, it really throws you for a loop psychologically. It did for me. And, I talked to the people that, were on that aspect of the program, if you will. And I mean, it comes with the territory. I mean, buckle up, I guess. I call them pilots because that's like our vernacular. I don't know what their actual job was. Yeah.
Non-human intelligence.
Yeah.
But they had bodies.
Yeah. I mean,
were they alive? Were they dead?
I don't want to get into specifics.
Okay.
Yeah, I know a lot of that stuff.
Out of curiosity, why are you allowed to say that NHI pilots came out of the craft, but you can't go more?
That's all I put in the pre-publication stuff that got approved. I mean,
got it.
I could go back and ask for more, but like I said to you earlier, man, like
not your place, not your job. And it's helpful context for the audience to realize that you literally have like these contours with which you have to operate within.
Any specific knowledge I garnered when I was on the other side of the door, if I want to talk about that publicly, everybody who has had a job like I have has to submit it to a thing called DOPSR at the Pentagon, DoD Pre-Publication and Security Review. You know, even if it's about this stuff, like I know it sounds insane, but like you literally have to say like, this is what I want to talk about.
Why do you think they approved it?
Catch-22, so they'd have to self-identify and highlight their concerns to redact. So the office who would propose a redaction, say it's a 3-letter agency or whatever, right? They'd have to be like, this office objected to you saying crash retrievals. Here we're citing the security classification guide. No. And then you can litigate that, right? To get it unredacted if you think that's an inappropriate application of security. If it got redacted like that and it cited what organization and what security reason it is, I would just publish that. And then the public can make its own interpretation why, the U.S. government's withholding information about that kind of thing and wanted to sequester my speech. So it's a catch-22, honestly, for them. And damn if they do, damn if they don't. I just wanted to put a...
Okay, so yeah, that gave some insight. Thank you, D-Stu. Thank you so much, guys, for all the support. I totally appreciate it. And that's what he was saying there. It's a catch-22. And also I kind of had this discussion with Greenwald, is basically John Greenwald is saying they should just come out, even the ones that those other 40 guys, if this is true and the government really does have this crash retrieval program, then his argument was it's so illegal that they should be in the right to even go against their the law. And I just, I think David Grusch is showing here that even when he followed the law and he's under serious stress. He was basically worried about his life, in danger for his life. His career was ruined, and now he's in the public light. So he's definitely feeling it. All right. And yeah, I didn't see any mention of the Grays, right? What other questions do we have? This is a live show, so it's late here in Portugal, but we had another exclusive interview, 2 more hours, amazing stuff with David Grusch. If you haven't watched it yet, I'd recommend watching it. Almost 1 million views, so I'm guessing most of you have seen it. Basic things I went through already was, this section here where he's talking about where it came from, the nukes. And then actually, let me grab my phone. Okay, and that's Sarbacher there. My phone died. No. Late here, like I said. 11. Shoot. All right. I'll play this here and look through.
Protect stuff that they were protecting our nuclear secrets. If you read the definition of special nuclear material in the Public Atomic Energy Act of 1954, it basically states any material that releases any kind of atomic energy.
That would be retrieved crash material. So it's kind of a sneaky way.
No, it is. If you actually read the Atomic Energy Act, if something is not a nuke, but it has radiological energy coming off.
All across American nuclear production, missile storage, and deployment sites. Plutonium enrichment sites like Hanford, Washington, and Savannah River Site in South Carolina. To nuclear stockpiles at Fort Hood, Texas, and Killeen base camps. From Los Alamos to Sandia to Malmstrom to F.E. Warren, the list goes on.
what is the connection with nuclear? Is it the kind of benevolent protector theory? They don't want us to destroy ourselves? Or is it some weird, like they're mining us for something and so they want to protect their resources? Or is it the power unlock thing where we could rip space-time and maybe be able to travel like they can travel?
Yeah.
And so, you know, nuclear power is the axis along which we're making progress towards that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it might be as simple as like it's an attractant, like a fly or a mosquito to a blue light, right? It could be something as simple as that. I mean, it's so hard because to put yourself in a different sentient shoes to understand intent and all that. I mean, could be probing, could be reconnaissance, could be just, you know, mere curiosity. Yes, you know, oh, they're only, you know, 2 or 3 orders of magnitude away, energy extraction from, you know, manipulating space-time and an occubear, you know, warp drive type thing. And maybe they're interested in that too, to understand our development as a civilization. I mean, without having, you know, a penetration into their OODA loop or whatever, we'll never really know.
Yeah.
It could be all of the above. Yeah. And it's really impossible to really ever gauge intent.
The controller told us that these objects had been observed for over 2 weeks, coming down from over 80,000 feet, rapidly descending to 20,000 feet, hanging out for hours, and then going straight back up. For those who don't realize, above 80,000 feet is space.
It's just this cat and mouse sort of recursive unsolvability, where it's just very hard to classify. It's almost like playing with you a little bit. Even Commander David Fravor in his account was like, the thing felt like it was like breathing and looking at me and knew. He even said it, you let it slip in the testimony. It was like, it definitely was aware of our existence. I'm like, how do you know that, man? You're not in the UFO's shoes. But I understand what he was saying, which is you can sense when somebody's looking at you.
Yeah, I know. I've had some folks I talked to that had their own kind of up close kind of sightings. They said that they got that vibe too. And who knows if that's psychosomatic or what, but they did get a vibe like that too.
When you stare into the abyss long enough, the abyss stares back.
Yeah, exactly. And then of course, I've had a very smart guy was like, well, did Darwin care to fully conceal himself when he studied the finches? And it's like, they observe, they don't really care.
Right.
And they don't really care to interact, but they're just here to observe. But
is that your bias, that it's sort of an anthropological, zoological model where they're like studying us and we're in this kind of petri dish kind of thing?
I think, you know, I'll give credit to Lou for the whole gorilla in the cage and, you know, throw it a banana, throw it the key and see if it can unlock the cage. And maybe that's what's, you know, some of these, you know, crashes were. And it wasn't really a mission failure, if you will. It was, you know, maybe some seeding. This is a total theoretical framework here.
So it's like,
we'll never really know, but
see what you can do with this. Or the key is nuclear power or something. And it's like the gorilla we have the key. Another analogy.
I thought it seemed like David Grusch just has a good idea, a good handle on all of, you know, all the possibilities. He seems knowledgeable on the UAP topic. He was a physics major. He said he pronounced it weird, Alcubierre, unless I'm saying it weird. But I thought this part was also interesting here on this section.
One anomaly that's important to talk about is it seems to be like there's a lot of electromagnetic radiation that comes off of these crafts. And I remember talking to Gary Nolan, and he mentioned that he was kind of given a file by the CIA, and he was tasked with looking into this, and it was 2 things. It was people who had anomalous UFO experiences, and it was people who had experienced Havana syndrome.
Diplomats and spies began to hear sounds and fall ill with a mysterious illness that people struggled to explain, what became known as Havana syndrome.
And in both cases, you have these kind of severe electromagnetic radiation effects, and often differences in the caudate nucleus and putamen, which is in the basal ganglia, the dorsal striatum of the brain, the scarring. But also the neuronal density of that area of the brain would cause somebody to even make sort of contact. But do we have any theories on kind of the electromagnetic radiation component?
I mean, certainly if we were to look at it from like a relativistic perspective, Well, that sounds like visible band light being blue shifted into the ultraviolet, and you're getting literally a sunburn. And if you look at an Occubear type thing where, you know, light's getting lensed around the craft, etc., stuff should be blue and red shifting. So things coming towards you would actually red shift spectrally, and the people getting like burns, so that's ultraviolet, that's like ionizing radiation. So that would be light being blue shifted into the ultraviolet as it's lensed across the bubble that the craft creates. And so we are seeing artifacts that seem to show that they're basically manipulating space-time.
And I guess that's why you get this sort of skipping across time effect or something. It looks like the things are just you're literally folding space-time, I guess, so you can get from point A to point
You're
Z.
riding a wave, basically. You create a wave, and you're on top of the tsunami wave, and you're riding across space-time.
That's fascinating.
And then, of course, there's the other thing is, you know, if it's like an Einstein-Rosenbridge thing, you know, 2 points on a piece of paper, and you fold it, but the way they're jumping around and skipping is, if you're riding the wave, it looks like you're moving very rapidly and like punctuated kind of movements. Because if think of an accordion and the wave you're riding is the accordion, when you flatten out the accordion, like flat space-time, you would smoothly move across. But I think we're stuck with like Einstein stuff was amazing, and, you know, nobody's really, I mean, there's obviously people with, you know, string theory, M-brain, all these other different physics theories, you know, quantum gravity, other theories, but, you know, there hasn't been something that's, you know, unified all the weak and the strong force, etc., and that's an ongoing thing. And I think, you know, finding the Higgs boson is going to be the big answer. You know, we'll see. So
speaking of string theory, it feels like it just hasn't shipped a product. You have our best and brightest, often really smart people getting into this sort of field that, you know, maybe you can detect black holes with strings, but generally it's just not that useful.
Well, string theory, I mean, mathematically, you know, I get it works out, right? But like most of the stuff you can't empirically observe because the strings are so small and subatomically, there's just like no way of
it's 11 dimensions.
There's like no way of verifying that. So it's a nice I'll call it like overlay, or that maybe this is reality, maybe it's not. It mathematically works out.
I think it's force fitting GR, you know, general relativity and quantum field theory. But this brings up an interesting question, which is, can we go down the tree trunk of physics and then find another branch?
Clearly, quantum physics.
Okay, I thought that was an interesting discussion. It still just seems like speculation. I didn't hear anything new, but it was he mentioned Alcubierre, or however he says it, Alcubierre, which is just warping space. I mentioned it in last Friday's video. There was a few more sections I wanted to cover, and then I'll end this at an hour. Let's check this out.
After the invention of these apocalyptic weapons, was true fundamental physics then concealed in deep black aerospace, while public-facing physics was sent into a cul-de-sac so it could do less damage?
Were there actually updates in physics, maybe mid-century, that were not disclosed to the public?
Okay, I thought that's good.
Okay, I realize this sounds kind of insane, but hear me out.
Imagine that this billiard ball is a proton.
The golden age of relativity was
I was trying to get to more Grusch interviews. I thought he was talking about that. Townsend Brown.
I guess Townsend Brown isn't just the wacky fan guy anymore.
There's just like this parallel history. It's very tightly coupled to what is known publicly, paperclip, etc. But there's this like other side of it that a lot of it dealt with the UFO UAP issue in earnest.
Operation Paperclip was a secret CIA program that took more than 1,600 former Nazi scientists and engineers and placed them in senior leadership roles in American military, intelligence, and space programs in the wake of World War II.
Germans made more progress than anybody at the time, just in aerospace generally. The V-2 flying rocket was 20, 30 years ahead of anybody.
ME-262 jet fighter, and
the whole Wunderwaffe arsenal.
And one has to ask, why do we have such a pressing need to get Wernher von Braun and Arthur Rudolph and all these guys? The NASA Saturn program was literally a transplantation of the Nazi program. Why was there such a pressing need to get all these people in the U.S.? And maybe it had something to do with the UFO thing. Who knows? Because Wernher von Braun is also a very trippy guy.
Remember that story about Townsend Brown parachuting into Germany to investigate Foo Fighters and Nazi UFO programs? Well, maybe Operation Paperclip had a little more to do with UFOs than meets the eye.
Yeah, Paperclip's pretty nuts when you think about it, like ethically and morally. You had people that were war criminals, or people who were going to be tried at Nuremberg.
Yes.
They took off that, and then they snatched them and brought them back to the U.S., and a lot of them became seniors of what became the CIA and NASA, and it's like I don't know if that would have happened nowadays. I feel like we would actually not be able to turn a blind eye to that.
Oh, there's no chance.
Yeah.
Wernher von Braun oversaw a brutal, mostly Jewish slave labor camp where tons and tons of people died.
Yeah.
And then he went on to literally run our space program. It's pretty interesting history.
Yeah, like his boss, like the German general that von Braun worked for back in Germany, came over and was like very high up in, I think it was NASA.
After so many witnesses have seen the so-called flying saucers, their existence can no longer be denied.
It's kind of like getting red pilled in the Matrix. It's like, whoa, holy shit! Reality is like way crazier and weirder than I thought.
That's so true, right? It just reading about Operation Paperclip, I think is amazing. How is that real? There was, two more points I wanted to show here. Thanks again, everybody, for being here. This is a live show after the exclusive Blockbuster interview came out. David Grusch. Okay, so this is where they asked about the SCIF. So why couldn't you were denied a SCIF?
Denied a SCIF.
What does SCIF stand for, just for people?
It was a specialized compartmented information facility, right?
Which basically means that you guys would just get into a secure place where you can share.
That's a facility that's accredited to talk at the top secret sensitive compartmented information level. And the members are pretty incensed that I believe it was like they couldn't reserve a SCIF and then they couldn't give me a one-time read-on back into the right accesses since I left the government.
Do you have any sense of why that was denied?
I don't know. No, I don't really have insight. It was something they mentioned to me, it was security or something denied it.
Security or something denied it. That's what they always say. Yeah, so the SCIF, the way that works is it's need to know on a lot of these programs, right? So they have a certain they have a list, actually, a certain number of people. A lot of them are limited. You can only have this many numbers. And so those could be full, or they don't want to add more people onto the list because then they have to keep you on their list and then until you're gone and then they remove you from the list. So it's all the security bureaucratic BS, right? It's a jobs program, essentially. That's what we called it, the jobs program. So that was where he was actually denied a SCIF. Sounds like still. I was surprised still. And then this last part I want to finish on. I thought this was just awesome. When he talked about how they're still taking a bunch of crap. Let's watch this section.
Leaked or whatever. I'm like, as somebody who is super cleared to a lot of that conventional stuff over the years, stuff never leaks.
Yeah.
It doesn't come out. There are plenty of things that are pretty serious, they're broad, that have never seen the light of day.
Of course, like you're gonna tell someone that their entire life and their family and their kids, like everything is in danger. It doesn't feel too far-fetched that someone will keep a secret if it threatens their life.
Like, look, dude, you're not getting promoted.
Yeah.
You're going to lose your job. The psychology of the typical career government worker, right? Stable paycheck, pension, maintain clearance. So if any of that's threatened, they're going to capitulate in most cases, right? The threatening nature of some of their indoctrinations where they're like, this is treason. You're going to Leavenworth. If you ever tell anybody not in the program, and oh, by the way, what's the penalty for treason? Oh, right. Execution, right? And I was like, well, fuck it. I'll be the mouthpiece for you. I'll be the leader, I guess. And I will shepherd you privately to the appropriate people that could be a recipient of your disclosure. You don't have to go public, but I'll do the thing.
That was so awesome. I'll do the thing. He's like that guy that the criminal that's going to jail, and so he just takes the rap of everyone else. But he's like, look, I'm already out there. I'm already getting shot at, and so I'll take all the bullets. Just so awesome. Yeah, so it looks like, and I didn't know this, Ryan Graves is speaking at the Mexican hearing. I'll check that out surely after this. Let's look at this question from Double Slit. Thank you, Double Slit, man. Thanks again. Do you think Grusch is going to tell us humans were engineered by non-human intelligence? Is Grusch going to tell us that? Did he say that? I think it could be a high possibility. You hear about that, right? That the Greys are the beings, and we ask, are they dead? Are they alive? And he's like, I don't want to answer any specifics. It's like that section in there. You really get the impression that they are printed. So, yeah, I don't know what that means. I think it could definitely be engineered or at least affected. I don't know if Grusch is going to tell us that, but thanks for the support, Double Slit. Where can I watch the Mexican hearing? All right. People are here. You want to see it? Let's look. Let's find it. I'm just searching. You go to YouTube and it's me searching on YouTube. Mexican UFO hearing. That's it, right? How's he seeing it? I got to go to Nerd Report. Christina Gomez. Check it out. You guys hearing a sound? I'm not hearing any sound. She knows Spanish. I'm hearing something actually. There's Jamie Malsan. How do you say that? And there's Ryan Graves right there. Oh, here, I'll make it big for you guys.
Lo primero, quiero expresar mi gratitud por esta oportunidad para hablar aquí en México, en la tierra de mis ancestros. Es un verdadero honor.
Okay, Bob Salas.
Y hablar de este tema, ¿no? Acerca de los fenómenos aéreos no identificados y de las armas nucleares.
Okay, I'm turning that down. I can actually understand the Spanish. She's speaking slowly. Okay. Jaime's there. Bob Salas, Ryan Graves in Mexico. Yeah, it says Colonel in the Air Force, retired. Wow, excellent. All right, like I said, man, there's so much stuff going on. Check out that UAP hearing, guys. I'm going to go to bed. Thanks for all your support. Super excited about, everything going on. Hope you guys like the actual exclusive interview, and then curious to see what Ryan Graves and Bob Salas going to talk about. When are we going to see Bob Salas? When are we going to see him in a U.S. hearing? So we've seen Ryan Graves. So I think Bob Salas, Bob Jacobs, I mean, they would be amazing hearing witnesses at the next hearing, maybe in the Senate. And they're up for it. So they've gone there already so many years. Japanese rep will be later. Be nice to hear some Mexican pilots. Watch me get disclosure from the Mexican hearing. I'll just show it here. Let's see if anything else is happening. Like Bob Salas is just giving his remarks. Cool. All right, everyone. Thanks for being here. Go ahead, smash the like button, please. Thanks for your support. You did the super chats. Totally appreciate it. Again, I go solely by your guys' support, so fully appreciate it. And definitely helps, motivates. Thanks again. Have a great night. And before we go, let me show, I'll give just a teaser. I thought it's cool of this Friday's video. We have some sweet artwork. Check this out for you guys. So this is this Friday. I'm spending extra time, right? I already have it. I've already gone through it twice now. And I'm motivated, I guess, by Jesse, his fancy editing, where you got to put in all this editing and additional stuff. I guess people like it. So I'm spending extra time, and it'll be an hour-long show on Black Ops and UFOs. I cover 3 modern cases. Any of you guys, can you guys guess this one? Yeah, we spent a bunch of time, worked with the artist on the artwork. I may even have, we got like this. This is the straight artwork. Thought it was cool. Do you guys know which case that is? Can you see which case? That's all artwork, so made. Yeah, it took a while. It's a little off, but it's as close as we can get it. Black Ops and UFOs Secrets Uncovered. So that'll be on Friday night at 11 p.m. Thanks again, everyone, for being here. Again, smash that like button if you did like this content. Share it, please, and then subscribe. See you on Friday at the premiere. All right, everyone, have a great day. Peace.